Welcome, my dear friend. Today I want you to sit back, relax, and imagine something special. Imagine that right now, you and I are going on a journey together. This is not just any journey. This is the journey where you learn to unlock the true power of your brain to learn English faster than you ever thought possible. Imagine your brain as a big treasure chest, full of space for knowledge, and somewhere deep inside, there is a special key that can open new worlds for you. That key is the ability to speak and understand English. The moment you can use it, doors all over the world will open for you. You will be able to talk to people from many countries, watch movies without subtitles, read books written in English, and understand songs that once sounded like just noise. This is why you are here. And this is why I am here. I want to give you that key. Now, I know you may have tried learning English before. Maybe you learned some words. Maybe you learned some grammar, but it still feels difficult. Sometimes you hear someone speak fast in English and your brain freezes. You think, I will never understand this, but I am here to tell you that is not true. Your brain is much more powerful than you think. It can learn new things faster than you imagine if you give it the right kind of training. The good news is that you don't need to be a genius. You don't need to spend your whole day studying, and you don't need to feel stressed. You just need to understand how your brain works and how to use it to your advantage. That's what this story is about. This is not just a lesson where I tell you boring rules. This is a journey where I will show you how to make learning fun, simple, and natural, so your brain will want to keep going every day. I want you to think about when you learned your first language as a child. You didn't study a grammar book. You didn't take notes. You didn't sit in a classroom. You learned because you heard words every day. You saw things. You repeated sounds. You connected words to actions, and slowly your brain built a map. That is the secret. Your brain builds maps. Every time you learn a word, your brain connects it to an image, a feeling, or a sound. This map becomes bigger and bigger until you can speak without thinking. The same thing can happen with English. You just have to build a second map in your brain. The mistake many people make is that they try to translate from their first language into English. That is like trying to walk through a door by going around the entire building first. It takes too long and you get tired. The faster way is to make your brain think directly in English. This is where brain hacks come in. Your brain does not like boring work. If learning feels like a heavy job, your brain will try to escape. But if learning feels like a game, your brain gets excited. It releases a chemical called dopamine, which makes you feel happy and want to keep going. This is why you can spend hours playing a game, but only a few minutes reading a boring book. So one of the first brain hacks is to turn learning into a game. For example, if you are listening to music, try to catch one new word. If you are walking in the street, try to name one thing you see in English. If you are watching a movie, try to remember one sentence. These small games make your brain curious, and curiosity is one of the strongest fuels for learning. Another brain hack is to feed your brain in small, tasty bites. Imagine trying to eat a whole cake in one bite. Impossible. But if you cut it into small pieces, it becomes easy and enjoyable. The same with English. Don't try to learn 100 new words in one day. Learn 5, but learn them well. Use them, speak them, imagine them. Your brain will keep them because it had time to enjoy them. And when you learn a new word, don't just read it silently. Say it out loud. Hear it in your own voice. Imagine what it looks like. Maybe even act it out. The more senses you use, the stronger your memory becomes. I also want you to understand something very important. Your brain remembers things that are connected to emotions. Have you ever noticed how you can remember a funny or embarrassing moment from years ago, but you forget what you studied last week? That's because the moment had emotion. If you connect an English word to something emotional, funny, strange, beautiful, or personal, your brain will keep it. For example, if you learn the word butterfly and you imagine a giant butterfly wearing sunglasses flying into your room, you will remember it. The sillier the image, the better. But here is another secret. Your brain learns better when you are relaxed. If you are stressed, your brain is busy dealing with that stress and cannot focus on learning. This is why I want you to make your English time a happy time. Maybe listen to your favorite music first, or sit in a comfortable place. Tell yourself, I am just going to have fun with English for a few minutes. When your brain is relaxed, it opens the doors to memory and creativity. You also have to give your brain enough repetition, but not too much at once. Repetition is like watering a plant. If you water it too little, it will die. If you pour a whole bucket every 5 minutes, it will drown. But if you water it a little every day, it will grow strong. The same with English. Touch it every day, even if it's just for a few minutes. This tells your brain this is important, and your brain will start giving it priority that now. I want you to imagine something. Imagine your brain is like a friendly animal, maybe a puppy. If you give it small rewards every time it learns something new, it will be excited to learn more. The rewards could be a piece of chocolate, a happy dance, or even just telling yourself, well done. These little celebrations tell your brain, I like this, and it will want to repeat the action. The beautiful thing about your brain is that it can change at any age. Some people say, I am too old to learn English. That is not true. Science shows that the brain can grow new connections at any time in life. It's called neuroplasticity. The more you use your brain, the stronger it becomes. Learning English is like exercise for your mind. It keeps it sharp and active. As we continue on this journey together, remember this: learning English is not about speed alone. It is about creating a habit, enjoying the process, and letting your brain work for you instead of against you. Your brain is your best friend in this. Treat it well, give it good input, and it will surprise you with how fast it can learn. And here is something that will make you smile. Every time you learn a new word, your brain creates a new connection. These connections are like little roads. The more roads you build, the faster your brain can travel between ideas. Soon, you will find that words come to you without effort. You will not be translating. You will be speaking directly in English. That is the moment you will feel truly free in the language. You have already taken the first steps in understanding how your brain learns and how you can guide it to learn English faster. In part 1, we began opening the treasure chest of your mind. We talked about how your brain builds maps, how small bites of learning are better than giant chunks, how emotions connect to memory, and how making learning fun and relaxing helps you grow faster. But this journey does not stop there. Now, in part 2, we are going deeper. We are going to move from simply learning English to living in English, even if you never leave your home. You will see how your brain can be trained to think in English naturally, how you can make English a part of your daily life without feeling like you are studying, and how to unlock even more hidden powers of your memory and attention. I want you to imagine again that your brain is like a garden. In part 1, we planted the seeds, small words, ideas, and habits. Now, we are going to water them every day, give them sunlight, and watch them grow into a strong, beautiful forest of English knowledge. A forest is not made in one day. It grows slowly, but it grows stronger every day if you care for it. That's what we will do with your English. We will make it part of your daily rhythm, so it grows naturally without you even realizing how much progress you are making. The first thing you need to understand in this stage is the power of immersion. Immersion means surrounding yourself with English so much that your brain starts to see it as normal. Think about when you learned your first language. You were surrounded by it all the time. You didn't just study it for 1 hour and then forget it. It was in the air around you. You heard it in conversations. You saw it in books. You felt it in songs. That constant exposure is what made you fluent. We can recreate this same effect for English, no matter where you are. One brain hack here is to change the language of your environment little by little. This does not mean you have to change your whole life overnight, but you can start with small changes. For example, if you have a phone or a computer, set it to English. Your brain will start to see English words every day without you forcing it. When you look at your apps, you will see settings instead of whatever the word is in your language, and soon your brain will remember it naturally. If you watch videos, try watching in English. Even if you only understand a little at first, over time, your brain will start to recognize more and more. Another important thing is to use English for real purposes. Your brain learns faster when it knows the information is useful right now. If you are learning a word but never use it, your brain will forget it because it thinks it's not important. But if you use it in a sentence about your own life, your brain will store it. So instead of just memorizing the word delicious, try saying, "This cake is delicious," when you are actually eating cake. That real-life connection makes the memory stronger. You also need to train your brain to think in English. At first, this feels strange because you are used to thinking in your own language, but the more you practice, the more natural it becomes. One trick is to narrate small parts of your day in English in your mind. For example, if you are brushing your teeth, think in English, "I am brushing my teeth. My toothbrush is blue." If you are walking outside, think, "The sun is bright. Today, I see a big tree." These small thoughts build a habit in your brain to use English automatically. Now, you might be thinking, "But I don't know enough words to think in English all the time." That's okay. You can start with the words you know. If you don't know a word, you can skip it or use a simple word instead. The important thing is to keep the flow in English, not to be perfect. Over time, your vocabulary will grow and your sentences will become longer and richer. Here's another brain hack. Connect new words to something you already know. Your brain learns faster when it links new information to old information. For example, if you know the word apple and you learn the word pear, you can connect them by thinking both are fruits. Pears are like apples, but softer. This connection helps your brain store the new word in the same folder as the old one, making it easier to find later. I also want you to use the power of storytelling. Your brain loves stories because they have meaning and emotion. If you want to remember a group of words, try putting them into a funny or interesting story. For example, if you want to remember cat, rain, umbrella, soup, you could imagine a cat walking in the rain with an umbrella, then going inside to eat soup. The stranger the story, the more your brain will remember it. Music is another powerful tool. Songs stick in your head because they have rhythm, melody, and repetition. If you listen to songs in English, even if you don't understand every word, your brain will remember the sound patterns. Later, when you learn the meaning of the words, they will click into place quickly because your brain already knows how they sound. And here is something many learners don't realize: your brain works even when you are not actively studying. This is called passive learning. If you have English playing in the background, a podcast, a video, a song, your brain is still picking up patterns, sounds, and words. You may not notice it, but later you will suddenly recognize a word that you never studied directly. This is your brain's natural ability to absorb language. Repetition is still important, but it must be smart repetition. Instead of repeating the same word 100 times in one day, repeat it a few times over many days. This is called spaced repetition, and it is one of the most powerful memory techniques. It's like visiting a friend regularly instead of trying to talk for 10 hours in one day. The more times you visit, the stronger the friendship becomes. Another way to help your brain is to mix active and passive learning. Active learning is when you focus fully, like when you read a text or write sentences. Passive learning is when you listen in the background or watch something for fun. Your brain benefits from both, and together they make the learning faster. Finally, I want to remind you that your brain needs rest to learn well. When you sleep, your brain organizes everything you learned during the day. It's like a librarian putting books on the right shelves. If you don't sleep enough, your brain doesn't have time to store the new information. So if you want to learn faster, give your brain enough rest. In this stage of our journey, you are no longer just learning English, you are living it. Every little action you take in English builds another road in your brain's map. Soon, these roads will connect into a beautiful network where words, ideas, and sentences flow freely. You will not be stuck translating anymore. You will simply speak and understand. My dear friend, you have come a long way in this journey. In the beginning, you were just opening the door to a new way of learning, discovering that your brain is not your enemy, but your greatest ally. In the middle of this journey, you learned how to surround yourself with English, how to make it part of your life, how to let it grow like a garden that you water every day. And now, in this final stage, we are going to explore the deepest and most powerful ways to keep that garden alive forever. This is the part where you move from being a learner of English to a user of English, from someone who studies the language to someone who lives it with confidence and joy. I want you to think about something important. Your brain loves patterns. Every language has its own rhythm, its own music, and its own patterns. The more your brain recognizes these patterns, the faster it understands. This is why, in this stage, you must let your brain swim in English as if it were water. Think of an athlete training in a pool every day. At first, they must remember how to move their arms and legs, but after enough time, their body moves automatically. You want English to become like swimming, natural, automatic, effortless. One of the most powerful brain hacks at this stage is to start creating in English. Up until now, you may have focused on understanding words and sentences from other people. Now it's time for you to produce your own. When you create, your brain works harder and builds stronger connections. This can be simple. You can tell a short story to yourself in English, describe your day out loud, or write a little journal entry each evening. The important thing is that the ideas come from your own mind, not just from what you hear or read. Asterisk, asterisk, you must also allow mistakes to happen. This is a very big secret. Mistakes are not bad for your brain. They are food for your brain. Every time you make a mistake and then correct it, your brain builds a stronger path. Imagine walking through a forest. If you get lost once, the next time you find the right path, you remember it better. If you try to avoid mistakes completely, you stop yourself from walking at all. That's why I tell you, speak, right? And use English without fear. Let the mistakes be your teachers. That's another important thing now, is to connect English to your passions. If you love sports, read about sport in English. If you love cooking, watch recipes in English. If you love technology, follow English blogs or videos about it. Your brain learns faster when it's interested. When the topic excites you, you don't even notice you are learning the language at the same time. It's like planting seeds in rich soil. They grow faster and stronger at this stage. You also need to challenge your brain just enough to make it grow. If you only use easy English, your brain becomes lazy. If you try something too difficult, your brain becomes frustrated. The magic is in the middle, something a little above your current level. This is called the zone of growth. In this zone, you understand most of what you hear or read, but there are some new words and ideas that stretch your brain. Over time, your comfort zone grows, and what was once hard becomes easy. Another brain hack is to practice active listening. Many learners think listening is just hearing words, but active listening means focusing fully, noticing not just the meaning but the tone, the rhythm, and the little sounds between words. When you listen actively, you train your brain to process English faster. You start catching small details, how a word is stressed, how sentences rise and fall, and these details make your speaking more natural too. At this point, you may also notice that your brain sometimes thinks in English without you trying. That is a sign of progress. Encourage it by giving it quiet moments. For example, when you are alone, instead of filling your head with music or noise, let your mind wander in English. Think about what you will do tomorrow. describe the room you are in, or imagine a scene from a movie, but do it in English. These quiet times help your brain strengthen the English pathways without pressure. You can also use visualization. This means closing your eyes and imagining situations where you speak English confidently. Picture yourself at an airport asking for help in English and getting a smile in return. Picture yourself giving a presentation in English and people clapping. These mental images train your brain the same way athletes train before a game. Your brain starts believing, I can do this. And when the real moment comes, it feels natural. One more powerful thing at this stage is to teach what you know. You might think, but I'm still learning. How can I teach? You can teach small things, even to yourself. For example, if you learned 5 new words today, explain them to an imaginary student. If you learned a grammar rule, say it out loud as if you are giving a lesson. Teaching forces your brain to organize the information clearly, which makes you remember it better. Remember, your goal now is not just to understand English, but to feel free in it. Freedom means you can use English without overthinking, without fear, and without hesitation. And that comes from trust. Trust in your brain and trust in the process. There will be days when you feel you are not improving, but those days are part of the journey. Your brain is still working in the background, still building, still growing. Finally, I want you to carry this thought with you. Learning English is not a finish line. It is a lifelong journey. Even native speakers keep learning new words and expressions. Your goal is not to be perfect, but to be able to connect, to understand, to express yourself, and to enjoy the language. Every word you learn is a tool. Every sentence you speak is a bridge, and every moment you spend with English is an investment in your future. If you keep giving your brain the right food, interesting input, small challenges, emotional connections, and moments of creation, it will keep rewarding you with fluency, confidence, and joy. This is the power of brain hacks for rapid fluency. You began this journey as a learner. Now, you are a user of English, a traveler in a bigger world, someone who can open doors that were once closed. And as long as you keep walking, keep listening, keep speaking, and keep loving the process, your English will grow every single day, just like a living, breathing part of you.